Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Outside the Box. And first of all, I'm just so glad to be here with you guys today. And I'm going to tell everybody where we're at. I know this is not a familiar scene on Outside the Box, but I can promise you this. This is an outside the box place. I feel at home. So thank y'all for being so welcoming to me. I'm with Jessica Shelton and Jessie Shelton at the Philosopher's House, and the Philosopher's House is in Johnson City. We're going to talk more about this beautiful place throughout this episode. So, Jessie, I'll start with you. Tell me a little bit. First of all, what are we doing here for the people who are listening on audio? What are we doing? What is this?
Okay, yeah. So we are in the Philosopher's House, like you said, and we are a liberal arts tea house, which sounds fancy, but what that really boils down to is we are a community space. We have a variety of classes, workshops, events, that kind of thing, mostly centered around Eastern philosophy, with an element of tea inside that as well. So we have a fully functioning tea counter on the first floor. And so most of the community, they interact with us as a tea house. So they can get Chinese teas, Japanese, Indian teas, South African teas, all over the place. So we served up a couple of different teas for you. We had a British service that is a rooibos tea. And then here we've been brewing on this Tie Guanyin Chinese oolong for a little while, and gung fu style, but a lot of words, but basically Chinese tea, British tea.
So tell me a little bit about you two. Jessica, I'll start with you. Like, how did we get here? Because we're around tea, British tea, Chinese, Eastern philosophy. Like, Jessica, tell me a little bit about your story with Jessie. What's the deal here?
Oh, wow. Well, we met like 14 years ago and have been together ever since. And I always had like an interest in like Asian culture, specifically like Japan. So I started studying Japanese language and culture in college. And Jesse studied like Chinese language and culture. And then he and I both together took some like Eastern philosophy classes when we were in our undergrad. And then we lived abroad in Japan teaching English after graduation. And then when we came back, we kind of did our thing for a little bit. And then we were talking more and more about Jesse's always wanted like a school or like a summer program. Like he just always wanted to share this kind of love of knowledge with people. Because he's definitely a lifelong learner. He would be a student forever if he could.
I love that.
So what we've created is like a combination of our love for tea and then culture, learning, community, meeting new people, sharing new experiences.
That's so cool. Jessie, I'll let you add to that. But like when I walk into this place, first of all, like everyone's doing something different. Like it's so cool. Everybody's smiling. We got one person studying. We got another person with a friend, all centered around what seems to be like this Eastern philosophy, tea. Tell me a little bit more about that side of it.
Yeah, so we have tried to cultivate a space that encourages our guests to be able to pursue different interests and behave in different ways. So the reason I say that is right now we're sitting in a Japanese floor seating area, which lends itself to this type of tea and these types of intimate conversations. No, there's no tables between us. We're not in big armchairs or something like that, right? So it encourages this kind of communication. But if you go down to our first floor, you'll see big winged armchairs that are perfectly cozy for cuddling up with a book, which encourage a little bit more of that introspective withdrawal. So we've got that. We've got small rooms that are set up for anywhere from 3 to 5 people to encourage small group dynamics. And just throughout the house, we have different spaces designed for if you want to read, or if you want to come and crochet for a while, or if you want to sit at our tea table downstairs and have a conversation with random strangers. That's all fine too. Yeah.
I love that. What does tea have to do with this? Like, Jessica, it's a learning environment. It's a place where people can get together, get to know each other, maybe on a different level, like Jessie was saying. What is it about tea?
Yeah, so tea is actually more of Jesse's passion. I enjoy tea for sure, but he started recently.
For you, it's the taste.
Yeah, I mean, I like the taste. I like, having the different fancy processes. So, like, when I'm here, I usually get a British service, and like our pot holds several cups of tea, so I can sit and read a book and keep making myself a fresh cup of tea. But I also enjoy like the intricacy of like a Chinese service, like Jesse has here, just because you can keep brewing for hours. But I don't know, I feel like it can really set you up for how you want your day to go. I
love
mean,
that.
sometimes I'm in the mood for like sweet and creamy British service. Sometimes I like a Japanese oolong or, oh my gosh, Japanese green tea.
Yep.
See, tea is Jesse's passion. I'm here for the ride.
No, you're doing great. I think you hit it on the head. Certain types of services, like this Gong Fu setup, for example, is there to be experienced with other people. It's supposed to be an interaction between two people using tea as a venue or as a method to do that. So it helps facilitate conversation and things like that, right? Because this, as you could tell, I've done it a couple of times, it takes a little while to brew. It's a fast brew, but you brew small amounts, so you pour. So it's constantly serving other people, constantly, which keeps you interacting with them. As opposed to a British service, for example, which you can take by yourself and you go and find a cozy space to sit and read, and it's a very personal, intimate experience. So community experience, typically intimate experience, although some of our British pots are quite large, and you'll have groups of people sharing those as well.
Jesse, sorry, Jessica, I'm looking at Jesse. Jessica, you said you had no problem with taking down a pot or two of the British one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so usually I'll drink a whole pot by myself, but I love tea. Like I love to drink the tea.
Well, I love what you said about this one here, because we've been doing this for the last 30, 40 minutes, and I didn't even realize that part of it. It's you were constantly serving. It was either you or you were serving the three of us here, and it kind of seems like you're trying to teach that or through the space. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, I think so. It's nice that this type of tea encourages you to be in a more humble position. So you're serving the people around you, but also a little bit like we talked about before that we started recording, how that this type of tea is a way that you can try to help bring balance back to either yourself, if you're feeling a little overly energetic, or if you're feeling a little sluggish, how you can pick your tea, pick your pot, pick all the accoutrements to help kind of edge you in the direction you want to go, and how you can do that for your guests as well, which is just nice. It's just a nice life practice, I think.
What do we call that? Patina? Patina to life?
A life patina, maybe.
Life patina.
I will also say that, the tea is just part of the aspect of the Philosopher's House. And so when we were talking about just starting this from the ground up, half of the purpose of the space or more is the community aspect, the workshops, the classes, the meetup groups that we have. And I think people are very excited to engage with that. But at the same time, I think we needed something to bring people in. And so tea seemed like a great way to do that. It's not something that we have here in this area. So it's an opportunity to let people experience something new and learn about tea together. And then when they're here and they realize what all the house offers, then hopefully they'll stay and become a part of this with us.
Yeah.
It's so cool because there's so many different things going on, like I said, and say somebody is wanting to come hang out. Do they have to know all this stuff about tea? Like how can they start? Where's a good place to start?
Okay, so there's a Zen saying that I really like. It was something along the lines of, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. Basically what it means is that when you think that you know something about something, you tend to close off to other suggestions, to new opportunities, things like that. But if you go into a space and you're a complete beginner, you say, I have no idea what I'm doing, you're going to immediately make friends, you're going to learn cool stuff, and so on and so forth. So I encourage that. We both encourage that for this house in particular. If it's tea related, come in, you don't know anything about tea, that's fine. Just go up to the tea counter and say, hey, I'm feeling whatever. It's cold outside and I don't want any caffeine. What do you recommend? And the tea brewer will say, okay. And they'll kind of guide you through that process and help you select what type of tea to get, and they'll teach you how to brew it because we have brewing styles from all around the world.
Yes, this can seem a little intimidating, like you said, if you are not normally a tea drinker, or if your tea experience has been a tea bag and a mug of tea, like at home, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. But this, like you can see here, we have like a pot, we have little cups, we have a strainer, we have a hot water kettle. There's a lot here, and so our tea brewers will teach you how to make the tea that you've chosen. So you shouldn't feel afraid to try something new.
Yep.
I love that. I think I unintentionally live in the beginner's mind. I promise you, it's not on purpose, but I can see, like, I've wanted to get into tea quite a bit, but like Jessica said, like, you can get intimidated, like, okay, am I not letting it steep long enough, or am I letting it steep too long, or like, apparently there's certain temperatures that the water has to be.
Sure.
How would you kind of guide somebody? What's important, what's not?
Yes, I love. It's one of my favorite kinds of questions,
Okay.
and that's because a lot of the tea that I recommend people start with are Chinese teas, and one of the reasons is that Chinese tea in particular is there to be enjoyed. Okay, so as far as what water temperature, just try one, and if it tastes bitter, dump it out. And that's why we have these trays that you dump it out, and then maybe try a lighter temperature, a lower temperature, and keep going. Steeping time, the tea brewers downstairs will recommend, they'll say, hey, start with 7 seconds. People like, 7 seconds? What do you mean, like, supposed to do like 4 minutes, right? No. For most of these teas, we're looking at 7 to 15 seconds. Start at 7 seconds. You steep it for 7 seconds, and then the next time,
So
try
pour it
10.
in, and then immediately.
Almost immediately. And if you've been, so normally I count. So each of these times, we've been doing 7 to 12 seconds per steep.
Wow.
While we've been sitting here.
Okay.
So then try 15, try 20. See what happens when you leave it in there for a minute. And just
Oh.
experiment with it. It doesn't need to be. It can
A
be
minute's
quite
too long.
better. It doesn't have to be precise. It can be as a internal or contemplative practice. If you want to use tea as a way of kind of like calming down, focusing, you can do that.
Okay.
But it doesn't need to be. It's just a leaf that we pour hot water on. So it's fine. Yeah.
Can you train your palate to like know what you like? Jessica, you said you're not a tea person, but you're around tea all day. Like, has your palate changed? What's that been like?
I mean, I do like tea. I'm just traditionally a coffee drinker. So
Okay.
we do have a coffee option because I said, well, we need to. Because what if somebody doesn't like tea? I mean, I have noticed because, when I drink coffee, I say I'm a coffee drinker, but I like sugar and cream and flavors. So like when I have the black tea, like British style service, I like it with cream and sugar. And, maybe there's not a lot of subtlety there that I can pick up because I'm not trained on this. But with these different like Asian teas, like the green teas, the white teas, the oolongs, they do taste different. Now, I don't know that I can be like, oh, this tastes like oat. I can't quite pick that up the way you can when you start developing a palate, but I just enjoy them for the different flavors.
And you kind of figure out what I'm hearing is like you figure out what you like just by trying. And you said, I mean, there's no harm in, if you don't like it, dump it. You got these great little, I don't even know what you call
Tea
it.
tray.
A tea tray.
It's a tea tray that has a reservoir so you can dump the tea in.
Lots of, you could do it over.
Yep. You could do it over. No need to commit to a course of action if it's not a good course of action.
I love that. And this is Chinese. Why start with Chinese tea?
So a little bit of this plays into the overall purpose of the space. So
Okay.
Ideally, if anybody has been here before, thanks, Dad. If anyone has been here before, when they walk through the front door, if I could boil the whole mission down into like one sentence, what I want is they walk in the front door and subconsciously, they don't realize it's happening. Their shoulders drop a little bit. They exhale slightly, and it's just a little bit more of that inner peace. That's what we're going for. Now, hopefully it's more pronounced than that, but it's just a little bit of relaxation. Then while they're here, we've got all kinds of cool classes and book clubs and all kinds of things going on where you can learn new ideas, new lifestyle practices, or you can learn Tai Chi if you want to. You can learn all kinds of stuff. So it's all within that context. And then hopefully when people leave, they take a little bit of that relaxed approach to life, a little bit of that inner peace, and just kind of sprinkles it around the community. So that's what it is. It's a germination space for that type of mental state.
So what you're wanting to do is kind of embody that sort of mentality, and then when you step out the door, you spread that all throughout Johnson City and the surrounding area.
So if you engage in an idea, a mental state, a particular way of thinking long enough, it starts to become habitual. It at least becomes easier to do.
Yeah.
So ideally, if somebody's here on a regular basis, and then in the rest of their life, they're doing things that is just a little bit more balancing, a little bit calmer, a little bit happier. And then over the course of a few weeks or a few months, they might find that they are spontaneously that way more often. Yeah, that's a success.
I love that. What you mentioned the workshops and the classes. How did we decide on those, and what's being offered here right now?
Yeah, so we do have some, like, I'm gonna say, in-house classes being offered that people associated with the house are teaching. Like Jesse's teaching a few classes or leading a few classes, so I will let you discuss those in a second. And like one of our teachers is leading a tabletop role-playing game group. So that'll be
just
fun.
for fun.
I have to know what that is.
I guess like Dungeons and Dragons, but not Dungeons and Dragons. It's
I have no idea. No
but
idea.
I love it.
yeah, so we have some in-house ones that are led like that, but then we also have quite a few that are being led by people that obviously are associated with the house, but they're not like Jesse or me, and they're not like one of our current teepers. It's just people that want to engage in the space and care about the mission of the space. And so, but that can be where we're like liberal arts. That just means we're encompassing a wide variety of new pursuit for knowledge. And so we have some language classes. We have someone that's going to be leading like a German, maybe like a discussion group, and it might be more of a language learning class, just depending on who shows up for the class. We have someone teaching adult beginning ballet, which I'm going to take. I'm very excited. We have somebody teaching Tai Chi, which does have roots in, it comes from the East. But, here it'll just be, I don't know, however they want to lead it. And then we also have, we're going to have some like creative writing groups. We have a drawing group led by a retired professor. It's just basically whatever people reached out to us and said, hey, I would love to offer this.
Love that.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the stuff that you're teaching.
So I'm starting out with 3 classes. I say starting out because we start our class rotation next month.
Okay.
So we're just starting those. The first one is just a beginner's meditation class. Absolute basics. How do you sit? How do you breathe? What do you do with your hands? And that's it. It'll be about 15 minutes of instruction each class, and then about 30 to 45 minutes of a couple of meditation exercises. Short, they're not very long, that anybody can drop in and just use the space. So,
I would say that's very approachable. It's not like you're going to be sitting for 30 minutes unbroken. It's for absolute beginners who have an interest in meditation, have always wanted to try, but don't know like how to do it on their own, that this will be a great opportunity for them.
Yep. The second one is it's a generic Eastern philosophy class. I'll have it really broad right now because I want to see what kind of interest there is coming into the space. Because there's so many different schools of just within Chinese philosophy, like 100 schools area. There's 100 schools. There are a lot of different schools of thought. So I have a generic Eastern philosophy class taught through the lens of tea. So so Eastern philosophy, by and large, is meant to be embodied. It's meant to be practiced. To not do that would be kind of like if you had a sommelier course and you learned all this stuff about wine and then you never tasted wine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if to have like an Eastern philosophy class at a Western university is perfectly fine, because that's also where I studied. But if it's not practiced, it's kind of lacking an integral element to it. And that practice can be meditation, it can be Tai Chi, but it can also be brewing a cup of tea intently for whoever your guest is. So I'm going to use tea culture as a way to explain major concepts, mostly in Chinese philosophy. And then the students get to practice by whether it be brewing tea for the group or whether it be flower arranging or whatever it is that we happen to be doing that particular day.
So you can bring this Chinese philosophy into anything you're doing, theoretically. Is that right? It's like just intention based and being thoughtful around it. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, yes, there are many different schools of philosophy in China, but by and large, if you are, I'll tell you a story. Okay, yeah. So there's a story, and I'm going to mess this one up. So forgive me on this. Western academic comes into China and meets with a Taoist master, right? Okay. And the Western academic comes in and is going to learn about Chinese philosophy. And the Taoist master said something along the lines of, he's happy to teach the Western academic, but the academic guy also wants to share Western philosophy. And the Chinese guy says, why do I want to learn anything about what you're teaching? You're overweight and you smoke and you're depressed. And so, but in the Western context, a lot of people, it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, that's different. That is fundamentally separate from the quality of my thought.
Okay.
But it's not the case in the East. The way that you live your life, your health, your relationships with others are a natural outcome of your thought. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Okay,
It's
yes.
more of like there's a difference between something being just purely academic versus being a practice. And like, I mean, you can know everything there is to know about exercise, but if you don't exercise,
Exactly.
like, what's the point?
Yes.
That's super fascinating. It seems to me that this house it's a place of creativity, and you can kind of bring your own, like, you can add your own flavor to it as you come in, especially if, like, say I really want to teach something, like there's theoretically opportunities there.
Yep, there are.
Yeah, I mean, we want what we offer to be in line with the mission of the space, you know, trying to, I don't know how to say, like, make everybody happier, more at peace. You know, we want to be a force of positive change in the community, or maybe not even change, but just a force of positivity in the community. So whatever class you teach, we would like it to be in line with that.
Yes.
So within reason, you can teach anything.
Yeah, we have, I mean, for example, we have a historical fencing group that is teaching historical fencing, which is fascinating. So we have a variety of types of classes in the space.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys didn't know I was going to ask this question, but I'm very interested because, one, you know, my brother's a part of the Philosopher's House.
He is a member.
That's true.
What is something that your members, because we're still relatively new. How long have we been open?
About a month
and a half.
So about a month and a half. What is something that they don't know about you guys?
About us personally?
About us personally.
Oh, wow.
What would you like to share with them?
I'm going to let you go. And then, so I can like panic think and not listen to what you're saying.
So Jessica.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, something that they don't know. I feel like I'm an open book. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I love nature and animals. I like dancing. I love to read. I want to be everybody's best friend.
Can I give you a shout out?
Yeah.
Because you are involved with the Jonesboro Repertory Theater.
Yes, yeah.
Can you, for the people, because we have some JRT people who are watching, tell them what you've been involved in.
So I do the choreography for the children's musical theater classes. So those range from elementary school up through senior year of high school. So I do those. I co-teach beginning adult tap dance,
Nice.
participate with like the more advanced adult tap dance as well. And then I choreograph some of the shows. So I don't know, I'm there a lot. I also volunteer at the Raptor Center in Bays Mountain because I love the birds. So I'm there every Thursday learning to fly planes right now.
Learning to fly planes? Are you a pilot?
I'm trying to be.
No
for fun.
kidding.
Yeah.
Although she does have a hoodie that says pilot. It's a little premature.
I'm a student pilot.
How presumptuous.
I know, but I wear it anyway. I don't wear it at the airport, but I wear it anyway. I don't know. I have like eclectic interests, you know, and I love being with people. I'm an extrovert, so I like being around people. So I love being here and hanging out and talking to new people, being like, what'd you get? How'd you decide you wanted that?
Yep. A lot of times we won't tell people that we're affiliated with the space at all. We'll just be like, oh, so what'd you get? Yeah. Like, oh, if you try it like this, it's really good. Or, you know, those kinds of things.
What's your steeping habits?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Have you been here before?
What's your steep like?
That's funny.
I don't know. What about you?
I think that, so I'll take it a slightly different direction, is a lot of times people assume that if you build a business, if you build out a community space, that you embody the mission of the space prior to doing that. And so building the company, for example, is a natural outcome of what's already going on internally. And that's not always the case. So for example, in this space, yes, I have my own meditation practice and stuff like that. But also I knew that if we build out the space, the types of behaviors that it'll invoke in me personally is the direction that I personally want to go as well. Make sense?
Totally makes sense.
So yeah, it's not like I'm definitely not a tea master. So it's not like I'm a tea master who sits and meditates and does Eastern philosophy stuff, but I'm a person that has a little bit of those seeds that have been germinating for a few years. And then by building the space, you connect with other people who are doing similar things, and it helps you to grow in the direction that you want to.
It actually makes total sense to me. I feel like, what you guys have done is just you've created a space where like-minded people can come hang out, and y'all are like continuous learners. It seems like you're always trying to learn something new. You're a darn pilot,
Trying to be,
or a future pilot, and you're gonna be a tea master. I just know it.
I mean,
based
30
on
years.
based on what I'm seeing.
well, as
But-
long as he enjoys the process of the tea, isn't he a tea master?
Aw.
He's his own tea practice
Fun,
master.
fun.
You know what? That's a quote right there. I love that.
Take it and put it on the wall.
So tell me some of the future plans for this place. Like, where are we heading? I know y'all have a big vision. Is there stuff that you can say, or do we need to keep it under wraps?
Would you like me to take that? Or you
Tag.
Want to go? Okay. So just a touch more background information. We're a nonprofit space. Okay.
Okay.
So the reason I bring that up is because the foundation that operates the space, we can facilitate other nonprofit activities in the community. So right now we're focusing on getting the tea house portion on the bottom floor basically up and running smoothly. Okay? Once that's smooth, which it basically is at this point, then we introduce the classes and workshops. We get that running smoothly. Once that's going, then we have the capacity to allow interested community members or some of our Philosopher's House members to run charitable programs through our space. And so I like the idea of a socially engaged member community. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Whether that be, it could have something to do with food insecurity, or it could have something to do with educational assistance or environmental conservation. Like, there's a lot of directions depending on the individual interest of the person who wants to spearhead different micro programs. But I would like for us to be able to carry all those under our umbrella. We've got a little bit of the experience on running the nonprofit stuff. We've done all the background work and paperwork and such. And so we can help facilitate those projects.
So would this be somewhat of like an incubator for other nonprofit projects? Is that kind of the vision?
Yeah, it'll be an incubator, and also a potentially, depending on what the project looks like, a venue for the project itself.
Okay.
Depending.
So like have an office here, or it be.
For example. Yeah.
Got it. Super cool.
Yeah.
Jessica, are you adding? I know you have something else to add.
You're so
Jessica
nice.
is great at being in the moment. And I mean that as a compliment. She is great at enjoying what we have to its fullest, whereas I have a bad habit of like, oh, we've got this. Okay, what's next? And so I let that go and I jump to the next thing.
We're on a strict Jesse gets to start nothing new for the next 6 months at
Now,
least.
I'm totally seeing the dynamic right now. Like, you're on step 3, she's enjoying step 1.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're like, hey, man, we've got, there's a bunch of people down there enjoying themselves. You're like, let's just go hang out. And
I do. I'm like, let's just go sit downstairs. And he's like, but I can't. There's things to do. Like, but it doesn't
that's
need
true.
to be done right now, which is a good practice to put into place.
It is a good practice. Personality
of
differences.
that's a good push
why
and
we
pull,
work.
though. I love that.
I'm here to support. I'm here for the ride. So, and then just as far as it's not really like so philanthropic, but as far as like some of the things that we hope the house will do, we are going to have a tea ceremony workshop performed by I don't know if I can call her a tea master, but
she is a tea master.
like an actual trained tea master from Japan. I think she lives in Hendersonville, but she'll be coming here in March to do a very special demonstration and workshop with us. So that one we have on the books. We haven't advertised just yet. So, that's coming up. And then we hope to do like some fireside chats. So we have a fireplace downstairs and like the cozy armchairs. And so we want to bring in people that would like to just do like a little chat, little question and answer session, like maybe local authors.
Yeah, we've got a few people on the unofficial list. One's a war photographer. He's been in the Ukraine since the beginning. I think he's back now, but he'll potentially be able to talk a little bit, show some of his photos, that kind of thing. So you could sit around, you have 8 to 10 people, intimate environment with an expert of some sort. We're just calling them fireside chats. We may end up do audio and put it out as a podcast or something as well. I'm not going to do that, but if one of our like volunteers decides that they want to take that route, they're welcome.
But like I think Andy has said he's willing to do like a fireside chat, talking about like his children's book that he's written. So we're open, basically just whoever we can get in contact with with that would like to do something like that for the space, we would love to do that.
I think that is super, super cool. One thing you guys have mentioned has been memberships. What's like, do you need to be a member to come in? What's the deal there?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So doors are open to absolutely anybody. The vast majority of people who come in don't realize there's such a thing as a membership, because we just don't push it. But several people who assist behind the scenes, whether they be washing dishes or cleaning, teaching some of the classes, are volunteers.
Got it.
And so any of our volunteers who are regular, like weekly volunteers, we give them memberships.
Got it.
You can also pay for a membership. I think it's like $25 a month for a membership. And there comes all kinds of perks. Whether you're volunteer or paid, you get like 20% off of the tea. You get free bags of tea. You get priority registration to events. And there's a list of things that we try to get.
That's incredible.
Trying to cultivate, especially because we're still in our infancy, trying to cultivate a community of people who are actively involved in the space on a reoccurring basis, rather than somebody who comes in once and they don't see us for 2 or 3 weeks, which is also fine. But it's nice to have people who are here 2, maybe 3 times a week.
Yep.
And it creates a different feel of community. You recognize the same faces. You get to know everyone's names. It's nice.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'm like you, Jessica. I'm a frequent coffee drinker in Knoxville, and if they were to offer a membership, I'd definitely do it because, one, I get some perks because I go there all the time. But 2, it just makes you feel more involved. And, they already do a great job of making me feel like, oh, there's been, and then I'm like, oh, I was here earlier today.
Yeah.
Don't judge me.
Yeah, the membership is just kind of like a little perk for people that like want and have the means to actively support the house. But like we said, we do have a paid option, or we do have a volunteer program. Again, for people that want to be engaged with the space, just because they care about the mission of the space. But we also love all of our customers that are just here to hang out. Because I come here to hang out all the time. So
I love that. So real quick, right before we wrap up, where can people find you? Where are we? Let's go ahead and the location. Where can they find you on social channels? How can they get in touch?
Me. Okay. Yeah. So we are the Philosopher's House. So if you Google the Philosopher's House, it should come up, but we're the philosophershouse.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. I think all of them are just the Philosopher's House. There was another one. Our address is 117 West Fairview. But as far as like, if you're just thinking about where is that in Johnson City, we're in like the downtown area. If you're familiar with where the library is in downtown Johnson City, we're like right next to the library. We're right above King Commons Park. I can never say that name correctly.
Yes. So some of our classes that can also be done outside with the yoga, tai chi, that kind of stuff. If it's nice and sunny, they can just walk down to the park and do it. Oh, so nice. We're easy walking distance. If you're looking for us here at the park, just look around. You'll find our house.
Yeah. Now, any upcoming events that we want to talk about? Anything coming up?
No, I think the biggest thing is our class schedule starts next Wednesday, February 1st.
Okay.
Yes, you can find our classes on our website. There's like a little link that just says classes and events, and then there's like a Google Calendar. It's got all of the classes listed at the time. You can click on it for a description of the class and like what time it is, and if it's a suggested donation or if it's drop-in, if it's free, if it's paid, all that information is there.
Yeah, most of our classes, all of our classes, I've encouraged outside instructors and our internal instructors as well to keep it as inexpensive as possible. So a good 50% of them are just donation-based, which is nice. And a few of them, justify the instructor's time, justifies pay. But I've encouraged low cost, just to try to bring a low cost liberal arts education opportunity for adults in particular. I forgot to mention that part. It is primarily adult centric.
Okay.
No particular reason for that other than there are opportunities for children in the area, the library, things like that. But there's not a lot outside of a university setting for adults who want to study different topics.
I feel like that's a huge problem. Like, there's not a lot of avenues you can go down, especially with other people, I think I was telling Andy one time, it's like hard to make friends after you're done with school. Like, I feel I was jealous that he went to grad school, and that's another 3 years where you get to be around people doing the same thing, and it's harder as we get out of that, and I feel like this place kind of embodies that. So I hope people take advantage of that. It's
thank you
cool.
very much.
Thank you.
Well, you guys are amazing. Thank y'all for this. It's been fantastic. As soon as we stop recording, I'm going to be downing a little bit more of this. But any parting words? We
are just so glad to get to talk to you all. Thank you for showing an interest and letting us give us the opportunity to talk about how we're trying to create community in Johnson City as its own little pocket of culture and education.
Well, I'm hoping, like, can we do another podcast here at some point?
Yeah,
Of course.
We'll keep diving in on some of the philosophical. We'll dive deep into tea and
that'd be fun.
So many things you can do.
Tai Chi, the whole deal.
Obviously, we want to talk and share. That's why we did this.
There we
Like the
go.
whole house. That's why we made the business. So yes, we would love to talk more.
I love it. Well, guys, this has been the Philosopher's House. I'm with Jessica and Jessie Shelton. Please get involved. If this sounds anything like you, come visit these guys. It's incredible. I'm getting ready to walk downstairs and get some more tea. Come hang out, read a book, bring a journal. You might even see me. Who knows? I mean, whenever I'm in Johnson City, I might have to just, let my shoulders down a little bit and get over here. Thank you, guys. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you guys for hanging out. As
Bye.
always, we will see you guys next time.
Don't go away.